Welcome to the It's in Queens podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Simmons, and this is the only podcast that focuses on Queens, the borough that has it all, including a dynamic annual tennis event. This podcast is brought to you by the Queens Economic Development Corporation and the Queens Tourism Council. Together, they showcase Queens as a destination with something for everyone who lives here, works here, or just wants to visit. And this time of year, we get a ton of visitors for the U.S. Open. Now, while Queens is known for its rich cultural diversity, the food scene, and vibrant neighborhoods, it is also a haven for sports enthusiasts. From baseball at Citi Field to soccer at the new stadium in Willets Point that is on the horizon, there's no shortage of athletic action. But this time of year, the spotlight again shifts to tennis because the U.S. Open is back in town. The U.S. Open is one of the oldest and most prestigious tennis tournaments in the world, and it's been held in Queens since 1978 at the USTA Billie Jean King National Tennis Center in Flushing Meadows, Corona Park. This iconic event attracts the biggest names in tennis and thousands, well really tens of thousands of fans from around the globe, making it one of the most exciting times to be in Queens. And I say tens of thousands, but frankly, it's a lot more. The 2024 U.S. Open promises to be a thrilling event with top players competing for the coveted Grand Slam title. So whether you're a lifelong tennis fan or you're just looking to experience the electric atmosphere, the U.S. Open is a must-attend event and a must-see event if you can't get there that showcases the best of what Queens has to offer. And it also has the distinction of being the venue where I met my spouse back in 2002. So it'll always have a special place in my heart. Joining me this week is Shelby Ponder. She's the manager of community relations and events at the USTA. And this week she gives us an insider's look at what's in store for this year's tournament and how her work impacts the Queens community. Shelby Ponder, welcome to the It's in Queens podcast.
Thank you for having me. This is going to be a blast.
Let's find out more about you. You've got a diverse background in event management, ranging from high school basketball tournaments to U.S. soccer and now the U.S. Open. Tell me a little about your journey and what led you to the USTA.
Yeah, so it's a funny one. I started my career like interning for one of the largest high school women's recruitment basketball tournaments in the nation called Nike Tournament of Champions. And it was just one of those things that kind of was like, oh, this is a lot of fun. It's a lot of hard work, but it's a lot of fun. I meet a lot of people. I talk to a lot of people. And then out of college, I ended up getting in an intern-ish position through US Soccer. I was an event operations associate. So I was helping to plan and execute all of the event operational pieces that goes into hosting the men's and women's domestic matches, the men's and women's national team domestic matches. So with that, in the 7 months that I was there, I got to put on the 2020 women's Olympic qualifiers right before COVID started. And She Believes Cup and a few of the CONCACAF Nations League matches for the men's side. So, and a couple of friendlies here and there, and that was a really good time. And then most recently, I was at a technology-enabled soccer training and experience company called Toca Football. And I was helping one of my old colleagues from US Soccer, build out the events department from in that company for a nationwide events team. And that was super fun. And then I was looking around for another job and ended up at the USTA. And it's a funny story because my father actually was a tennis umpire, is a tennis umpire still, and has worked the US Open in like a separate capacity as a tennis umpire before Hawkeye came into play. He did like 15 US Opens as a tennis lines judge. I have a little bit of tennis background. I wasn't a tennis player myself, but it's kind of a fun full circle in the family at the least.
So talk a little about your job as manager of community relations and events at the USTA, because you handle a variety of tasks. Would love to know more about your role and some of the rewards that come with it.
Totally. So I do fall under a couple of different buckets, I guess you would say. Community relations kind of overlaps into the US Open as well. And then I'll touch on that after, but the event side of things, for the US Open, I manage our guest services team. So anyone who's kind of that welcoming face saying, hello, welcome to the US Open, helping people find their way to different places in the US Open. We are on a 46-acre site. So it is often kind of daunting to come in and have all of this tennis and all of this experience to explore, but not know where to go. So we have a good solid team of about 600 people that we help get trained and get knowledgeable about the site and about the different experiences that we're having during the US Open, to then help other people enjoy their time on the grounds during the US Open. So that's that side of the job. Then the community relations side of the job is really, really fun. I actually moved here a year ago, and really just immersed myself in Queens, so that way I could get to know the community, and understand how we kind of interact with each other. So anywhere from setting up different volunteer opportunities to presenting at community boards, working with the community boards, working with community organizations, just to find different ways that we can either volunteer, create tennis opportunities, show the site off. One of the really fun ones that we do in the winter time is work with a school to have them come in. We get presents for them. Like each staff member gets a student a present. They come see the grounds, have a pizza party, open their presents, and have a wonderful day. And then how it ties in for the US Open is Fan Week is free and open for the public all week long. That starts Monday, August 19th. And it's just one of the ways that we try and make tennis inclusive and give that opportunity for everyone to come. And then during that week, we work with different senior centers to make sure that they get invited to have a day on the grounds. We work with Council Member Sandra Ung and Council Member Francisco Moya's office to get a couple of different senior centers to get a group in. They get a day on the grounds, a nice little lunch. That's super fun for them. We also have the Queens Tourism Council kiosk providing information about the businesses and the food and the restaurants along the 7 corridor. So that's always fun opportunity. And then we also we have some complimentary tickets for various organizations for different Fan Week events. So Fan Week is the qualifying rounds of the tournament, but we do special events throughout to keep it more engaging as well and to make it more of an experience. So we have 2 events this year that we've given some complimentary tickets to various organizations too. So all of that is what I do. And that's not even it's not limited to that.
And I'm glad you mentioned the 7 train, because anyone I know who says they're going to go to the Open, I'm like, take the 7 train. It's the easiest way to get there. Please
So
don't
easy.
drive.
Don't drive. There's no parking. We are very limited on parking.
So, from what I understand, you've mentioned having a passion for building community via sport. Share an example of how you've seen sports bring people together and the impact that has on communities.
So I can give it in a soccer context, not necessarily a tennis context yet, but so like one of my favorite things to do is to play pickup soccer. I love soccer so much. It is one of my favorite sports. I've played it my entire life. And I found that being able to play a sport is almost like being able to play a sport with others is like being able to communicate without having to like actually speak a language with them. So I find that I'll go out to a soccer field and I will play with whoever's there. They may be American, they may be Nigerian, they may be Mexican, and we may not all speak the same language, but we can all communicate on the field. And by the end of it, we're having a blast. We're high-fiving each other. We're communicating without having to speak. And I think that is such a beautiful way to create a community. And I've also found it in a way that like you continue to show up, you continue to see the same people. We're all doing the same thing that we like. We're all there together at the same days, same times. Then you start to find your community through it. So I think that when I say building community via sport, it's truly just like maybe even building community via hobby, right? So
Mm.
just like finding a hobby and like showing up to it and like putting yourself in those experiences to find that community for yourself.
It's so interesting when you're talking about that. I'm thinking of where we both live, the neighborhoods, the neighborhood of Jackson Heights and Woodside, and how diverse it is. And and I've mentioned to you before we started taping about I live across from Traverse Park, and before it was remodeled, before you moved here a year ago. It was not the beautiful park it was right now. It largely was a giant lot, but you'd see all these different groups playing sports in this giant lot together. And we still see that so often in playgrounds
Mm-hmm.
across the city. We have this great amenity here in Jackson Heights. You always see, this type of community engagement. So I do have to ask you, because you mentioned that you moved here a year ago. What do you love about living in Queens?
Generally, I love just the fact that there's any type of anything to do. So, like, you can find anything you want, whether it be food, whether it be activity, whether it be a new language. It is just so diverse in so many different aspects that it's just been a blast to live here. I've not found myself bored once. If I find myself bored, I walk outside and I'm like, wow, I've just entered a whole new world. It was funny. People asked me when I was moving over here, like, oh, for this new job, oh, Shelby, are you going to travel for work still? And I said, no, but I'm moving to Queens. So I feel like I'm going to be in a new country and a new every day. So I was like, it's the world's most diverse borough. So maybe I don't need to travel. I can just take the 7 train and find a new culture to explore.
So this is going to be, if I'm correct, your second US Open with the
Yes.
USTA. What's
Mm-hmm.
the experience like? I mean, it's a very active time.
It is insane. And I will say, like, I have worked large scale events before, US soccer games. This particular basketball tournament was a large tournament in and of itself, 800 teams, 300 coaches and fans. And like, this is just on another level. Last year alone, we had 957,000 people come through those gates. And this year we're trying to get to 1 million, which is a huge a challenge in so many different ways, but so exciting as well. But it's just electric, honestly. Like, you see the grounds. I think, at least from my perspective, I'm there even in the dead of winter, and you just see the grounds just like come to life with flowers, with people, with stores, with food, with tennis. Sorry, don't want to forget the tennis. But it's just like electric, and truly like the adrenaline carries you through. So in the capacity that I work at the US Open, I'm there from anywhere from 12 to 18 hours a day, even more sometimes. And it's almost like you don't get tired. You just like, there's so much adrenaline pumping through you that it just kind of carries you through. And it's electric. That's all I can tell you. It's like something that you have to experience.
So, what are you looking forward to the most? What are you most excited about that's on the horizon in the next few weeks?
Let's see, other than sleeping after. Um, I'm not thinking about the lack of sleep I'm going to get, but I am thinking about, and I'm super excited for the team members to start, because I think getting them excited as well just helps to create a really incredible experience for the guests to come. Like, it already is a great experience, but I'm excited for our team to start, which means day one, which means the US Open to start, because it just means that we just get to create these amazing experiences for everyone to have. And that's really why I got into like doing sports events or just events in general, because it is something that people come to do in their free time. People spend their hard-earned money to come and experience and have a good time and enjoy something that we're putting on for them. And so I think that just seeing all the new people come and all the people from years past come too, like, it's fun to hear the stories that people have there. I've been coming here since it was at Forest Hills at West Side Tennis Club, and just hearing like how much people love tennis and love the US Open, it just definitely propels me forward.
And before I let you go,
Mhm.
How do you hope to continue making a difference through your work at the USTA?
So I am looking forward to continue meeting different organizations and finding different ways that we can, partner together, bring people on site to tour the tennis center, maybe set up different clinics as we can. I'm really looking forward to like fostering the relationships that I've created in this past year with so many different people and different organizations. So I know that I've met a lot of people and I'm excited to definitely like culture that relationship and make it flourish even further.
So before I let you go, tell our listeners where they should go if they want to learn more about the Open and more broadly about the work of the USTA.
Yeah. So US Open, if you need some more information on that, please head to usopen.org. We've built out that website. Our marketing team, our tech team has built that out with everything you could possibly need to know about it, even an A to Z guide, a know before you go guide, and everything. So usopen.org has all US Open information. And for information that happens around the USTA Billie Jean King National Tennis Center, you can go to ntc.usta.com. We update that with all of our tennis programming, clinics, classes. If you're looking to host an event with us, look on there. And then from there, you can follow our Instagram as well, USTA National Tennis Center, where we post a lot of fun content there. So follow us.
Shelby Ponder, thank you so much for spending time with us on the It's in Queens podcast.
Thanks so much for having me, Jeff. It was a pleasure.
If you're planning to attend, well, where you need to head is the USTA Billie Jean King National Tennis Center in Flushing Meadows, Corona Park. And once again, take the 7 train. As we discussed, parking is very limited in the area and it's so convenient. It really is. You access it right off the 7 train. Now, if you're looking for something else to do this month or next month, we have you covered. That is where Rob Mackay comes in. He's with the Queens Economic Development Corporation and the Queens Tourism Council. And each and every week he highlights some of the more dynamic events that are happening in Queens.
Howdy, Jeffrey. Today, let's think about sun, sand, waves, and dance, of course. The 10th annual Beach Sessions Dance Series is scheduled for the Shoreline at Beach 106th Street in Rockaway this Saturday, August 17th at 6:30. I kid you not. With the Atlantic Ocean and maybe even some dolphins in the background, spectators will be able to watch a new arrangement by choreographer Faye Driscoll, which has 15 or maybe 16 dancers. They'll be dancing and relating to the elements at the same time. So as you can imagine, it's outdoors and it's free. The nearest landmark is the food concession, which is right there at Beach 106th Street. Public transportation, you can take the ferry, don't forget the Rockaway ferry to Beach 108th Street, or the Far Rockaway bound A train to Broad Channel, and then transfer for the shuttle. Sasha Oakstein founded Beach Sessions in 2012 to introduce dance to the Rockaways and the Rockaways to dancers as well. So this is kind of a great tradition. I've attended a couple before. It really is sort of a special thing. It's something that makes you realize that the Rockaways is not like other places. Anyway, and she's working with Morgan Griffin, who is a KG veteran as well. So I hope to see you there, Jeff. The first hot dog at the concession stand is on me, okay?
Thanks, Rob. That is just a sample of all that's happening in our borough. And one other thing that's going to be happening during the U.S. Open, the Queens Tourism Council is going to have a booth at the U.S. Open. So you want to make sure to stop by and visit. You'll be able to pick up a lot of material and also find out what's in the area. So when you leave the U.S. Open, or even when you're headed there, if you have more time, you will find opportunities to be able to dine and experience Queens in all its glory. Now remember, the place to go and discover everything that's on the horizon is so easy to remember. It's at the It's in Queens website, and that website address is itsinqueens.com. And by the way, if you're interested in business-related news, then head right over to the Queens Economic Development Corporation's website at queensny.org. And when you visit either of those websites, sign up for the newsletters, because then you'll get notified right in your inbox about opportunities on the horizon. And whether you're attending the US Open or any event in Queens, snap some photos and share them with us. Make sure to use the hashtag #It'sInQueens on X and Instagram, because your photo could become our photo of the week. So happy August, have a great time at the US Open, and I'll see you next week here on the It's in Queens podcast.